Back with you, Pod of Your Day, Episode 10. I'm J.W. Cox alongside head coach Todd Stepsis. And the Panthers, they're going on the road again. 2 straight on the road, headed to Southern Illinois this week, 2 o'clock. You can hear that one on the Panther Radio Network. We'll be right there for you in Carbondale for another big Missouri Valley Conference game, another ranked opponent that the Panthers will face, and they'll do it on the road. This show always features the two of us plus a special player guest. This week, Ryan Crandall will keep the linebacker vibes going with the transfer. Ryan Crandall, he's coming in off a tremendous game. He has been so good this season. He's top 3 in solo tackles and total tackles in the conference through 7 games, and he leads the conference in tackles for loss, which has been a big number. So we'll get to him a little bit later on. If you haven't seen the pod before, where you been? But you can catch up with anything we've done so far on YouTube and also wherever you get your podcast audio version on the Panther Point of View. Just search for it there. All right, Coach, I want to start with new faces. And some of this is from injury. Some of this is guys getting into spots, right? You never want to see the injury part of it. But you have gotten some guys out there. There were 2 guys that got the first tackles of their season, 1 first tackle of his career. You think of guys like Jalen Pettis and how they've come on lately, more and more of a role. Different guys like that, Colvin Miller, John Powers, guys playing more and more. What's impressed you about those group of guys, not just the ones I mentioned, but the guys that have stepped in and are getting more and more experience? And how valuable is that, not just for the rest of this year, but looking forward to what they can be for this program?
Well, I think it's a philosophy, and so, depending on your program and what you believe in, it's all about coaching everybody. And so for our coaching staff, that's something day one that we talk about is, it doesn't matter whether it's the starter or whether it's the last guy that we brought in. I think Evan Freeney, he was the last guy on the team this year. We actually got him right when training camp started. And we're going to coach that guy just as hard. We're going to love him just as much as we love the returning All-American captain. And so when you do it that way, then you have a next man up mentality. You have a next man up philosophy as a team. And I think that's kind of how you build and sustain success. And I think, it's easy to be a flash in a pan and, all of a sudden, hey, we got this great product and we're really going to focus on, this group of guys. But to your point, man, football is a game of attrition, and when you do it that way, it's just going to be hard to maintain a high level when, hey, man, the standard's already up here. You're going to compete to meet that standard, whether you're 1 or 110. I think that's just how we do things here, and that's how we're going to do things moving forward.
When you look back at that last game, I know part of the frustration for you in that loss was just some of the things that cropped up that hadn't been issues, whether it's communication, to end up with too many men on the field, timeouts, whatever it was. Do you change anything this week, or how do you focus in and clean those things up when you're in week number 7 without changing too much of what you guys want to do and accomplish on a given week?
Yeah, the focus every week, especially when you're going through a tough time. You think about a hitter going through a slump. It's we're not going to change who we are. We're not going to change our philosophy, just like the hitter's not going to change his swing. He's just going to adjust where he's standing in the batter's box. Maybe he's going to be back or up or inside or outside. One of my favorite players, Pete Rose talked about that, I think, before he passed away, but no different, so what's important to us? Well, it's technique and fundamentals. It's doing the little things, and so that's where the focus needs to be. So, we show this stuff on tape. These are some of the areas that we need to clean up. So whether it's substitutions, whether it's communication, whether it's leading with the shoulder, not the crown of the head. All those types of deals are just, they're fundamentals to the game of football. Continuing to run through my route. That happened a couple times where it's not a talent issue, it's not a scheme issue, it's a concentration issue and a fundamental thing. And so for us this week, it's back to fundamentals. Continue to pound the rock, continue to hammer away on the details and the techniques of how you're supposed to play, and that stuff ends up working itself out.
Always like to give pats on the back for guys that you saw that kind of popped in that game and that you were impressed with. Where do you go for that this week out of that game?
Well, the defense just continues to shine. There was a big challenge to stop the run this week. That really was what they hung their hat on, and that's how they got all their explosive plays in the past up to that point, and all their points of just getting the run game established. Whether they're popping a big run, then it opens up the play action pass game, and so I thought the defense just did a great job of, again, up front, the front 7 in particular, building walls, setting edges. The linebacker core in general, I thought, played extremely well. Jalen Pettis obviously was a major factor with those 2 sacks, but the linebackers are doing a great job of knowing their fits, but then also the ability to make a guy right when the dude in front of him is wrong. So, just the defense in general, continuing to battle. It's not easy to play defense with an offense like ours right now. And so, their attitudes, too, I think need a shout-out. It'd be very easy, especially when the season's not going very well, to start pointing fingers and, hey, you need to score more points, or you guys need to be doing this or that. And there's none of that. Everybody's supporting one another, building each other up. And then, I think, J.C. Roque had a great game. I think he practices the right way. He does everything right. And so, he gets rewarded in the game with a couple great catches and runs after the catch. And so, just for us to continue to find ways to get him the ball, I think is important. Briggs Houston with his first ever catch in the end zone. I mean, that was a guy we were counting on the beginning of the year, and then he partially tears his quad and has to sit out for a good chunk of the start. And now he's back. We just ran our flies down there. And he ran, I think, 21.5 miles an hour at 250 pounds. So it's like, okay, so he's another guy where, man, next man up, so, and he's done a great job, and looking forward to using him a little bit more too.
He told us after the game he didn't play any tight end in high school. He was always standing up, never put his hand in the ground. Tell me, how difficult is that to especially at that particular position, not just a position change, but to add that to what you're doing in a whole different aspect of what tight ends also have to do?
Yeah, you think about the difficult skills in the game of football. An open field tackle. I've always said, if a guy can make an open field tackle, he can pretty much do anything. But then when I think about positions in general, you got to be a great athlete to be a true tight end, like one that is a weapon. And what I mean by that is more than just a big receiver. So Briggs is, I think, probably in the spring was just a big receiver. So to your point, flex him out. He can run a good route tree. He can use his body. He's got a great catch radius because he's got great size. Obviously great speed. But the great tight ends, they also know how to block. And so whether it's point of attack, whether it's backside, it's amazing. When you put a tight end in line, what that does for that whole offensive line. And so all of a sudden, that tackle that's next to that tight end, oh man, I got a buddy here. That's really helpful. I'm going to be more confident. So whether it's blocking the point of attack, whether it's in chip protection, whatever it is, man, those tight ends that can do all of that, very rare. But when you find one, man, what a boost to the offense that guy gives you. Run game, pass game, matchup issues. I mean, as a former defensive guy, anytime we played, I remember it was 2016. We went to South Dakota State and opened their stadium, and Dallas Goedert was one of the tight ends. And I remember looking up at him pre-game going, oh, my God. And sure enough, later in that game, he catches one in the back of the end zone, Odell Beckham style, and it was on SportsCenter, that following night. And so, but again, he was one that, they threw him quick screens. They put him in 3-by-1, and he was the one. And so here you are, putting a safety on that guy out there, and that's at a height discrepancy, and then all of a sudden he's in the backfield and he's just mauling people coming off the ball, and how do you defend that? And so the more guys that we can develop into that, Briggs is starting to do that. Derek did that, so he started thin, probably not a great blocker, but he's grown into being able to do both. And that's just a skill that's tough, a position that's hard to play because you got to do both. But it's pretty impressive, the jumps that he's made these last couple weeks.
I'm curious, and you can tell me that I'm just up a creek on this thinking, but season's a grind. Like you said, you keep the focus the same. You guys are doing much of the same thing as you get week to week. Is there a little refreshment in that this is an opponent that not only have you not schemed for, most of the guys, Mo played in the game the last time we saw him. Jack and Tucker both had a tackle, and Noah did the punting. But that's it. Nobody else around here has played Southern Illinois. It was 2022. Is there a little refreshment in knowing, all right, this is somebody that it's going to be all new stuff that we got to try to figure out against Southern Illinois this week?
Yeah, personally, it is kind of like that because, our first three opponents, in the Missouri Valley, gosh, in the last 11 years, probably played each one of them 4 or 5 times. And so, it's just kind of neat playing a new team in a new place, and then they've got, great personnel, great scheme. So, it's fun, from a chess match, perspective of game planning, how you're going to stop their quarterback. They got great speed on the edge. So how are you going to contain that? How are you going to limit the explosive plays? I mean, all those kinds of things on defense you're thinking about. Offensively, they got great corners, and how are we going to get our guys open? How are we going to run the football? And so, it's neat. It's a new opponent. They got a great coach and great stuff up there or down there. And, anything new is always kind of gives a little bit more juice to it.
Ryan Crandall is going to join us. I know you've had this 1 year with him. What have you come to appreciate in the short time with him as one of the leaders on this team and on this defense?
Yeah, when we recruited him, we kind of knew what we were going to get. And he has exceeded expectations, and our expectations were pretty high, So, the connections kind of go way back. So Coach Nelly had him at Ankeny, so we knew who he was. And, from just Energizer Bunny, never gets tired, sideline to sideline, hard to block, slippery, when he's blitzing. He's a great blitzer. And so, we knew all that stuff, but then his character really, I think, is what makes him special and one of a kind. Immediately, day one, here he is, new guy, kind of like me, just didn't really know the landscape, didn't know the team, and immediately just he was a part of us, and so credit to the team for embracing him, but then credit for him for putting himself out there and being him and not being afraid to be himself. And just a joy to have on the team, and we knew that. We had a lot of glowing recommendations about that guy. I've got some close personal friends back in Des Moines that their families are pretty close, and that's actually how we found out about him initially, that he was thinking about grad transferring, and hey, this is a guy you need to get. And we're looking at our roster, and it's like, man, we could use a linebacker that can play every down, that we don't have to sub out in a spread team or on a third down. And so then, watching him at Western Illinois and how productive he was there. But again, that stuff was important, but for us, it was more about, man, let's make sure we get the right guy in here that's going to help build our culture and our program to how we want it to be. And again, exceeded expectations, just a fantastic human being.
Ryan Crandall will join us next. We'll find out a little more about him here. It's Best Pod of Your Day. Stick around. Back with you on Best Pod of Your Day, Episode 10. Happy to be joined now by Ryan Crandall, J.W. Cox, alongside head coach Todd Stepsis still with us. Ryan, appreciate you making the time to come up and join us on the pod here. Let's look at your transfer journey, but let's look at it now, where you are. Yep. Was there a time once you got in with the guys, once you got into the program and kind of comfortable, whether it was the spring or through the summer, that you settled in and were like, okay, I knew I made the right choice, but now I 100% know that this is exactly where I am supposed to be right now?
Right. I think, obviously being a transfer, it's hard. The first 2 months were, difficult, just trying to get to know new people. Joining a new program obviously was new for these guys too, so really kind of adjusting to that. But kind of backing off what you said, I think I knew the first spring practice, I had Tucker Langenberg, helping me through everything, and that's when I really knew. I'm like, okay, it's something that I knew I made the right decision, and then through spring, it got to a point where I was like, okay, let's do this thing.
You've now played 38 games in your college career at this point. Yep. At a key position, being on the field an awful lot, playing at this highest level. Yeah. What's the biggest area you think you have grown to where you are now from when you first walked onto a college campus there in Macomb?
It was weird because I switched positions. I played defensive back in high school. That's kind of where my team needed me in high school, and then they moved me into the box a little bit more. So it was like new right off the bat. And I've learned a lot about, different schemes. I played under a bunch of different schemes. Being in the box is a lot different than, playing in all that space back there. But, it was a great switch. I've learned I've seen a lot of offenses and learned a lot of, scheme on the defensive side of the ball.
One of the things that I find interesting about you, and we talked about this even preseason, you guys went through some tough times at Western Illinois, extended losing streaks. Yep. But then you were also there when you guys came out of it. Right. You won 4 games your last year. Right. What was the biggest takeaway through that whole process as you look back now on what that journey taught you, what happened to you guys as a team, and what do you pull away from those 3-4 years there?
Yeah, when I said when, the interim head coach got hired after our old staff got let go. I told him, you guys took a shot out of me out of high school, and I'm gonna stay here until we win.
Mm-hmm.
We start winning. And so that that was a big thing. I'm pretty under recruited in high school, and then they gave me a shot to play in the best FCS league in the nation. So that was a big thing for me. We ended up obviously moving conferences, but I wanted to get that win under my belt, especially there. And it felt I still love that program, love the people over there. It felt good to leave there with a win.
Coach, you would never wish a 30-plus game losing streak on anybody, but when you see somebody like this come out the other side of that, what does that tell you about the work and what the mental makeup that has to be there to survive, and not only just say, hey, I'm still here, but I'm going to make sure we get something on the other side of this that's better than what we've been through?
I mean, it's that saying, a true character shows up when adversity strikes, and so, a guy that can embrace that and stick it out and continue to show up. It just shows you who he really is. And so to go through that and to want to be the solution. I think that is hard to do. We talk about the window and the mirror all the time. And so are you going to look outside the window to try to find somebody else to solve your problems, or are you going to look at yourself and figure it out on your own and solve your problems and solve the problems of the program in-house? And so I think that's what we want our program to be built with. We want guys like that, and even though he's only going to be with us for a year, his impact is going to be it's going to last. It's going to be one of those legacy things where our foundation was built with guys like this on the team.
We've had Tucker talk about that on the broadcast about, this is your last ride as a player, and whatever's going to come of these next 5 games, that's what you've got. What is your mindset towards the guys that will still be here and the kind of impact that you do want to leave once you're gone?
I just want to, impact them in a way that they can resemble something from my game onto theirs in the next, however many years they're here, by playing hard, focusing on the details and really just, getting to the ball, honestly. That's kind of what I want to leave in my mark here.
All right, so grad transfer. What was the degree in, and what are you doing now here at UNI?
Well, so I didn't end up graduating from there. I'm going to graduate from here in the spring. With a business administration degree, hopefully.
Okay. What do you want to do with that?
Honestly, I don't know yet, really. I kind of want to, with my youth, stay in the sports a little bit, maybe get into coaching or, find something to do with sports here at the university. I don't know. So I'm kind of looking forward to that next chapter of my life after I get done playing ball here.
Wide open book. All right, let's go to an older chapter.
Yep.
Back to your days in Ankeny.
Okay.
You're successful in football. You guys get here and end up as runners-up. You won a state title as a basketball player, right? Played baseball too.
Yep.
What did you love about being an Ankeny Hawk and being a part of all that, whatever team it was, but being a part of that community?
It's not only is it filled with great athletes, the people and all my teammates, they're great. I can text up any one of my teammates from the 3 years I played varsity sports there, and they would respond. We can have a conversation, and even I still play Xbox with a bunch of my former teammates that I played with back then. So that community is awesome. They got, like I said, great athletes too, and I've played with some really, really talented people, and they've gone on to have very successful careers in collegiate sports.
All right, I looked at what you were doing in the off season a little bit at Western as far as jobs go, and I saw that you did golf course maintenance.
Yeah,
all right,
in the summer.
Right. So was that something did you take any joy in that, or was that just I needed a check?
I needed. Yeah, it was my freshman year actually. I just got there, and I was like, might pick up a little. I was mowing greens. I had to learn how to mow greens. Wasn't very good at it, but they needed someone, so I was like, I'll do. I did it remember on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 6 to 10 every single morning. It wasn't bad, throw on the headphones and hop on the mower and stuff, but it wasn't bad at all. It was good.
What's the key to mowing a green? Like, what made you not as good at it as you wanted to be?
You really have to get around the edge of the course, right? And you have
precision.
to precision, really. And then you have to the lawnmower. The blades are out here, so you have to line up the blade with the edge of the course.
Okay.
And it was a lot more difficult than you would think.
Not just the yard.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Was it one of those 0-turn deals?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it was hard. It's the first time I ever done one of those.
Yeah.
And my dad mows the lawn at home just for fun, and he has one of the regular lawnmowers. So I never had to use one of these.
All right. Well, I'm sure you might have cost somebody some birdies out there at some point. Who knows?
Did you wreck any greens?
I had it stuck one time. It was raining. Oh, it was bad. Oh, I don't even want to talk about it. And manager had to get his tow truck out there. Oh God.
Stuck the mower.
Yeah.
Do you golf?
A little bit.
Was that a perk? Did you get to go golf then, or?
Yeah, I got to golf for free. I golf a little bit. I'm really bad. I'm more like cornhole player, bowl. I need to take some golf lessons once I'm done playing football.
Bowling, Tucker.
Yeah, I know.
Have you guys bowled together yet?
we were playing. We had a couple plans. Sometimes in the winter it kind of fell through, but we need to definitely this winter for sure.
Well, we might have to track that one if that happens. Linebacker on linebacker bowling. Speaking of the linebackers, we've had quite a few of them on the show this year. How have those guys in that group, starters or otherwise, how do they make you better every day when you get to work with them?
Like a kid like Caleb Frazier, just a great person off the field too, right? And he's just he was a hardworking, kind of nose of the grindstone player and person. So we kind of just feed off each other. Honestly, we communicate really well. We're all really experienced. So and that's something that I've really took away from here is communication is key to having success on the football field. And then a kid like Colby Miller that's filling in for Caleb, he's really stepped up. I see him run on the field. I know I can trust that kid. He's going to do his job and he's going to do it to the best of his ability. And he shows some emotion out there too, which is pretty cool to see.
All right, you ready for the lightning round?
Let's go.
All right, start you with an easy one. What's your go-to ice cream flavor?
Mint chocolate chip.
Mint chocolate chip.
Nice.
There we go.
Yep. Nice.
2 on the show.
Nice.
Teammate that is most likely able to help you fix your car. Something's wrong. They could be the ones you might call them. They might figure it out.
Johnny Powers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just Mr. Fix It.
Yeah.
He's got the knack. All right. If you could spend a day with any person, living, dead, history, family, whoever, who would that be?
Oh, Dana White.
Dana White.
Yeah.
What are you going to pick his brain about most?
I don't know. He has a good knowledge of business. He knows what he's doing.
He's done a lot with that.
Yeah, he has.
All right. Last TV series that you finished.
Task. It's new on HBO Max.
What's that about?
Task.
It's about a group of burglars that are getting that got in trouble. Ended up, killing some people during a burglary, and a task force has to go out and try and stop them. It's a pretty good show.
So is a series all about like one burglar, or is it?
There's 3 of them, and they ended up getting in trouble, and they, take a bunch of money and stuff, and it's just like this kind of rickety task force that gets hired to try and figure out who they are and stuff. It's pretty good.
I'd like that.
Yeah.
All right. So paint a scenario for you. I give you Coach Nelson's credit card.
Okay.
You can go anywhere in Ankeny for a meal. Where are you going to go?
Ooh, that's good. That's a good question. My go-to spot is Main Street. It's not like overly pricey. It's just a good.
Well, you don't have to spend all this money. He's just paying.
Yeah. Main Street for sure.
Okay.
All right, let's keep it on Coach Nelson. Give me a good Ankeny High School Coach Nelson story. And you can keep it PG.
Okay.
But do you have a funny one?
Yeah, I have a
because
pretty
Coach
funny
Nelson's the best.
I have a pretty funny one. So it was a couple days after we won the state championship. I think it was Monday. The whole team's on a Zoom call because it was during all that. It was during COVID and all that stuff. The whole team's I'm sorry, I'm gonna start laughing. The whole team's on a Zoom call, and Nelson's, everyone's on the screen, and we're doing it for our early bird strength class, and he's congratulating us all, excited to see us next day at school and whatnot. So I'm sorry. he tells the class to go do whatever, do yoga and stuff for however long we were doing the class. And I remember kids were getting on the mic and, you know, screaming in the mic, and you can see his face pop on the screen. He's, what the hell's going on, and who's making all those noise? I don't know. It's just a classic. Oh, it was funny. It was just a funny time.
Nelly pop up.
You kind of look through. You can see him in the computer screen. Oh, it was funny. It was just really funny.
Coach Nelly is technologically, maybe a little bit.
He's like, how do I work this thing? How do I turn him off? Yeah. Oh man, it's good.
Nelly on a Zoom.
Yeah.
All right. Game day routine or something you have to do. Is there anything that falls in that category for you?
I go out on the field barefoot and roll my feet out with a lacrosse ball. Do that, kind of loosens up, the tension in my feet and stuff. And then I stretch a little bit, but nothing in particular. No, not really. I like to watch, kind of just chill my nerves. Watch just some other football games that are on.
Okay.
Do nothing special. No.
All right. Favorite vacation you've ever been on?
Went to Cabo a few years ago with a bunch of my high school buddies for our senior trip. That was pretty fun trip.
Okay. Probably no stories you can share from that one. You probably have to keep that one under wraps.
Now, is that a normal thing, like senior trips? Is that like common?
I think they've started to become more common.
I did not.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I don't think my parents did either.
Yeah. So that must be a generation.
Good for you guys.
Yeah, no, I'm fortunate enough to be able to do that.
I mean, is it bad about like my two daughters? Like, there's no shot they're going on these trips. Like, maybe I'll change my mind in a few years, but like, no, like I think about it, I was like, no way.
Not going to happen.
Not happening.
I'm with you.
No way.
Oh, shoot. Yeah.
All right. Favorite board game or card game?
Poker.
Poker?
Play a bunch of poker, yeah.
What kind? Are you playing 5-card?
Yeah. It's
okay.
a typical 5-card.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. If you could only eat one side dish. So we're talking side dish, not main course. One side dish for the rest of your life. What are you making? What are you having?
I mean, it's just kind of a simple answer, but French fries. I mean, you just can't go wrong with French fries. Like seasoned well.
Oh man, I tell you, when I was a kid, I couldn't get enough French fries.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't beat a good French fry.
Favorite French fries?
I like Culver's.
Culver's?
I don't know if you've ever had the crinkle cut. Yeah.
I've had some Culver's French fries, Coach.
All right. Man, that's a great question because I don't know if I've met a French fry I don't like.
I'm with you there. Yeah. All right. Culver's is good, though.
Yeah.
A lot of people dog on the crinkle cut.
I know. I don't know why.
No,
it's good.
You should not. All right. Last one I got for you. Sum up Panther football in one word or phrase.
Wow.
Damn, I'm going to have to think about this a little bit.
It's all right. You can take your time. Carson's got the magic edit.
Shoot. Dang, that's hard.
Or I guess first thing that comes to mind.
Because
first
thing that comes to mind, like you think about like the old Panther football teams, they're just like massive up front. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to think. I'll say strong. That's the word.
Strong.
A lot of kids are, especially in the weight room, very, very, very strong. That's what I noticed when I came here.
All right. Well, Ryan, appreciate you taking the time. You made it through the lightning round. You made it through everything else. Good luck the rest of the way. We're glad you're here. We're glad you're a Panther for this year.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
All right, Coach. Thanks, as always. Thanks to all of you for tuning in. Another episode of Best Pod of Your Day. Remember, Panthers on the road, 2 o'clock kick time from Carbondale. 1 o'clock, and catch the pregame show on the Panther Radio Network. I hope to see a lot of you out there, maybe two. Not a terrible trip. We'll get there quicker. But, come on down. Join us down in Carbondale. Watch some Panther football. If you missed any of our previous episodes, check them out on YouTube. Check them out wherever you get your audio podcast, too. Just search the Panther Point of View. Panthers and Salukis this weekend. We'll talk to you then. Go Cats.